Big cheese, no design on my jacket. Work hard, now I'm changing my bracket. Talk tough, we ain't hear that racket. Guys came in, you know how to stack it. Don't take it wrong, but I'ma need my ends though. I got tigers on my chest like Kenzo. Rail came, yeah, he putting that Benz though. Carol's here, man, you know you stay 10 toes. Big dog, man, you know I ain't worried. Bent up, so I'm talking real slurry. Got a blast, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's cracking, baby? This is Adam Caplan, the voice in your ears with AC Radio. And we got a very special episode, our last episode of the year. I'm throwing on my white tee right now, my white dress shirt. Why? Because we're giving out our MMA Awards for the year of 2022 in mixed martial arts. I'm pumped to be here. Hair slicked back, dress shirt on, button all the way up. Before we get into those awards, couple thank yous. Thank you to all of the viewers. Thank you to all the subscribers. We hit 100 this week, which to me is a really proud moment. To me, when I see those triple digits now, I just can't wait until it turns until it starts turning into some decimals. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks a lot to the viewers, the subscribers, all the people that like, comment, tune in every single week on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. It means the world to me. We put in a lot of hard work in the production, spent a lot of money on this, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's just been a pleasure and an honor to have started this and to just have this as a constant thought and a constant thing that I'm really looking to achieve. And, you know, I'm just so honored for all of you all to be on that journey with me. Want to give a big thanks to my man, Brett. Guy's been putting in the work every single week. This is going to be our 27th episode, every single week, getting better and better, looking to advance himself as a videographer and a producer and an editor and an audio engineer as well. Guy's an absolute stud. Sometimes he's got to drop a D when he rolls through. But you know what? He also always delivers on the goods for the work. So big thanks to you, Brett. I appreciate you. And let's get right into the MMA Awards, baby, because we're wrapping up that year. And what did I say last episode? I was going to gift wrap it to you like a Lamborghini, baby. So here we are. We got the first one, the best promotion outside of the UFC. Thought it was only fair to do it outside of the UFC because, you know, let's be real here. UFC would be taking that to the bank every single year. So, listen, if you would ask me a couple weeks ago, I maybe would have told you PFL, but, you know, I do think that the pay-per-view numbers tanking at 10,000 buys did put a blemish on it. So I'm rocking with Bellator. I'm rocking with Bellator because I think that they have put on the highest of caliber fights in mixed martial arts that could have been the most competitive with the UFCs this year. And, you know, I don't want to take away from one championship, but you have to understand also that them having Muay Thai, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu and superstars behind that has also helped elevate their product. And in some ways, those fights have been some of their best fights of the year and not necessarily entirely their MMA fights. So I'm rocking with Bellator on that one. And with the next one, we have the best frontman, the best promoter. Again, I'm going to do it outside of the UFC because my man Dana White is obviously the winner time and time again. I'm going with Chatri from One. Why? Because, listen, this guy bleeds one championship. Okay, every interview that he does, every promotion, every game plan that is around building the momentum and the superstardom of one championship, Chatri lives and bleeds, okay? He lives and bleeds it. And he also lives and breathes it because, you know, they get a lot of flack. They get a lot of flack for perhaps them being in bankruptcy, for perhaps them not getting as much viewership as they constantly talk about due to the fact that they're all over Asia and the Middle East and Europe, etc., and Australia and New Zealand. But, you know, one gets a lot of flack for all of those things. But ultimately, to me, you know, I still think that he deserves that award because he really does bleed for the company and he's a good representation of the company. So I'm rocking with him on that one. And then we got the Analyst of the Year. This one was a little bit of a tough one for me, but you know, last night I was on an Instagram live and I was talking with my man Manny Mayer from MMA Ideas, and I was actually choosing Dan Hardy. I like his analysis. If you take away some of the bravado and maybe a bit of the arrogancy that he has, And to be real with you, that's what made him the outlaw in the UFC, which is why it's only normal that he's going to carry that outside. I mean, we see it in Michael Bisping and Dominic Cruz as well. So why should Dan Hardy be any different? You know, don't forget, he did get fired from the UFC for standing up for a fighter. So, you know, love him or hate him, I really like Dan Hardy's analysis. That's why I gotta go. That's why I gotta go with him. But you know, his name is escaping me right now. But many had a really great shout that struck me. So if I get back to that, we'll see. And then we got the personality of the year, and this one's a little bit controversial because my selection is not Joe Rogan, and my selection is not Chael Sonnen either. My selection is the great Ariel Helwani. Listen, man, ever since Helwani has come back to the independent circuit, coming back to being able to be on the MMA Hour with MMA Fighting, going on the Ringer with Spotify, also having Hey Ariel on his personal YouTube channel, and also now working with BT Sports, was working for the UFC sector, but a little special someone, you know, bumped him out, and now he's only covering the WWE, which is great also because Ariel, you know, obviously was a big WWF fan growing up. But why is he the personality of the year? Have you seen the personality that's come from this guy in the last year? He has been going at every single person in the industry, media, fighter, mother, Bubby, Zeta, auntie, uncle, Zia, you know, all of them. He's been going at all of them that have something to say about Helwani. And that, to me, shows that not only is Helwani a great journalist and he's the 13th time, but it also shows me that now that he's done with the ESPNs and he's done with the Foxes, etc., he's done with the real big corp, clearly shows that Helwani now wants to do what Helwani wants to do. And that's exactly what he is doing, which is why I have him as the personality of the year. And if you got an argument with that one, why don't you ask your boy Brendan Schaub? Why don't you ask your boy Patty the Batty? Why don't you ask your boy Dana White? And why don't you ask a few other people that Helwani absolutely 10-7 this year? So that's my personality of the year. Sorry, not sorry. Call me biased. Maybe it's the yid in me, but it is what it is, baby. Next one, we got the best MMA show, and this one's a tough one, okay? This one might be one of the few ties that I have, okay? The reason that being is you've got the MMA Hour with Helwani once again, but then you also have Morning Combat with Brian Campbell and, of course, Luke Thomas. Now, different show here, long, in the middle of the day, one's Monday, Wednesday, I believe the other one is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Listen, if you want to go to get to know the fighters, to get to know the storylines, and to get to know the sport of MMA from maybe more of a, maybe more of a, if you want to get the storyline and the fighter interviews right, you tune into the MMA Hour. But if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth breakdown and analysis, a little bit more less journalistic and a little bit more maybe opinion slash proven, you go to Morning Combat because Luke Thomas knows his explanations, he knows his breakdown, he knows his analysis. He's able to watch a fight and then re-break down to you what happened, why it happened, what shouldn't have happened, what could have happened, and why we got to the result. So I like Luke Thomas for that. When you want to understand what's truly going on in the cage, you watch Morning Combat. But if you want to get to know these fighters, get to know who they are, where they came from, what the magnitude behind all of these storylines and matchups are, and learn a little bit about the history of the sport as well, which I encourage all of you to do always, especially you guys that got into it because of betting in the pandemic. Got to learn your history in the sport, okay? So that's why I have it as a toss-up. Biasly, I got to go with MMA Hour because that's been my show that I've been watching, since it's basically been in existence. But at the same time, for younger fans, I do think that you will learn a lot quicker about what's going on in the fights themselves by listening to Morning Combat. So that's mine. That's a close one there. The coach of the year, I got Eugene Behrman. I mean, come on now. City Kickboxing, unbelievable gym. He's been an unbelievable coach. Obviously having the Izzy loss is a little bit of a blemish, but it's really not. okay? I don't have to talk about the success of the fighters that he's coached and the success of the gym and the country that he has now brought to the mainstream. What I want to talk about is the fact that in Eugene Bareman's last training camp with all of his fighters at the big UFC 281 in Madison Square Garden, Eugene was not trying to be buddy-buddy with his fighters. He did not take the John Kavanaugh yes man route. He did not take the route of, I've made it, we're champs now, we've made money, we've got our superstardom, I could now build out other gyms across the world and use my name and just call it a day. No. Eugene Bareman is like a parent to these fighters. And what it means to be a parent to your fighters, which means is that you're not friends with them. You don't have to be friends with them. What you have to do is put them in the best possible positions to succeed at any cost possible. And that was the big storyline leading up to the great UFC 281, was that Eugene Bareman went on the air and fully said out loud, I treat my fighters the way I treat everybody else. They are the same pieces of shit as everybody else, to quote Eugene Bareman on the MMA Hour. And that showed me that he wasn't there for the glitz, for the glamour, for the money, for the fame, for the highlight reels. The only thing he is there for is for his fighters to execute the game plan to the highest capabilities as possible and leave the octagon as safely as possible to go back to their families. The rest of it means absolutely nothing to him. And for that is why I have Eugene Bareman from City Kickboxing as my coach of the year. Moving on, we've got the gym of the year. Ta-da! City Kickboxing, Alex Volkanovski, Israel Adesanya, Carlos Ulberg, Kai Kara France, Dan Hooker. Come on, baby. The list has gone on and on and on. The New Zealand wave, okay, that basically started out of this City Kickboxing gym, plus Alex Volkanovski, who comes from Freestyle MMA under the great Joe Lopez. Bruh, not only did they make a stake, the Aussies and the Kiwis from City Kickboxing, they've also stayed here. Okay, that Irish wave, that French wave, that British wave, all the waves that have had, one of the most sustainable ones is the City Kickboxing wave. And for that is why I have them as the gym of the year. You know, look at the success of Volk, look at the success of Izzy, look at the success of Kai, of Carlos Ulberg, as Dan Hooker as well. Not all of these guys have perfect records, but these guys know how to come back from losses better than ever. And I know that it's the 2022 awards, but if we really look at what these guys have done from City Kickboxing, from the moment Fight Island started till now, their resumes become even more unanimous for Gym of the Year. So, you know, especially Dan Hooker. I know it's past before 2022, but think about how many times he had to quarantine away from his family. You know, there was a time where in between fights, he still had to stay away from his family due to the quarantine and the lockups and all of that. So that's my gym of the year, baby. That's what I got for you. You got my little cheap yellow paper. I've always wanted to do this. Ciao. Next one, we got the upset of the year. Very obvious to me, Juliana Pena. Okay, I mean, look, man, coming into the fight, Amanda Nunes was being pushed and promoted, obviously not to her highest capability. I think that I agree with a lot of people that the UFC has dropped the ball a little bit in promoting Amanda Nunes more as a superstar. But look, she was going into that fight with that aura to her, with that icon status. You know, a very similar status to the great Kamaru Usman against Leon Edwards, who might show up on the show later in discussion. So, you know, you get what I'm talking about. When you thought about the discussions that were happening about Usman leading up to that Leon fight, they were very similar with Amanda Nunes. And what happened? Juliana Pena upset the Lioness in Amanda Nunes and won that fight. But you best believe real champions, real legends of the game, real icons, they adapt, they overcome, and they achieve after some of the big losses. And that's what Amanda Nunes did. Absolutely murked Pena in the rematch. And to that, you know what? Let's keep it relevant. Let's go to the comeback fight of the year. Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. Come on now. Headshot dead. Look at me now. As I've said on the show, Leon Edwards has shocked the world. 5th round head kick. He had his coach in the corner giving him that famous Rocky speech. Shit is playing all over Instagram, black and white backgrounds, slow-mo, fast-mo, put a little beat over it, whatever it is. That speech from Leon Edwards' coach is going to be playing in history for a very long time. And like I said on AC Radio a couple episodes ago, you could see that other cornermen are trying to emulate that now to get that moment for their fighter as well. So, you know, Leon Rocky Edwards, congratulations to him. What a great victory that was. And people don't realize how written off he was from the commentary, from the viewers as well, who were watching the fight. Folks were already going back to their cars in the middle of between the 4th and the 5th round because they knew it was a wrap. And for those people, they missed the fucking comeback fight of the year, maybe even arguably the KO of the year from Leon Edwards. And look, man, that was a comeback and a half. He lost the first fight against Kamaru, won the second. They're going to probably have a third. We'll see what happens. And, you know, what cracks me up also is there's this jokes-ass video with Leon Edwards talking to the Nelk boys backstage, I believe at one of the UFC events. And Kyle from the Nelk boys was like, so, man, like, how's it been since you've blown up, like, as a champ? And he's like, oh, dude, it's absolutely crazy. And he kind of looks at him. He's like, no, but, like, how's it been? Leon looks at Kyle and goes, bro, puss game has been crazy. So congratulations to Leon Edwards, my guy. Go get that money. Go get that sweet. And, you know, that's my comeback fight of the year. And with that, we're going to go to the breakout fighter of the year. A little controversial, maybe, because he had maybe a rough week 2 weeks ago, but it's got to be Paddy the Batty Pimblett. I mean, come on now. The guy has been the topic of conversation before, during, and after every single one of his fights. He knows how to stay relevant with his podcast, obviously working with Barstool Sports. He's got an infectious personality. And, you know, maybe if perhaps we erase the last 2 weeks, you know, maybe we wouldn't, you know, say it with a little bit of a slump in our posture. But personally, for me, he's absolutely the breakout fighter of the year. He's easily one of the biggest superstars of 2022 that we're speculating or we're interested in seeing what's going to happen for 2023. So for that, he's absolutely my breakout fighter of the year. And, you know, let's just say last week I spoke about a certain someone who also won breakout fighter of the year, Conor McGregor. Still think that fight should happen. If you disagree, tell me why in the comments. Drinking water out of a Gatorade bottle. Not that chill. Wish I had maybe a Happy Dad, maybe a Prime, or maybe one of those bootleg Primes that Paddy the Batty was pushing that Logan Paul might sue him over, but we're not here for any of that. The comeback fight of the year, the breakout fighter of the year. Next, we have the fight of the year. Come on now. Yuri Prochazka versus Glover Teixeira in Singapore. One of those fights where people were like, why the hell are they putting it on in Singapore? Why isn't this happening in Brazil? Why is this not happening in maybe even Czech Republic? Why isn't this happening in Vegas? Why is it happening in Singapore? Well, I mean, Singapore is a beautiful country with a beautiful stadium. They've had a lot of events from one championship there and have had successful events. And that was a new market and an area pretty close-ish to Fight Island, blah, 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 all the COVID protocols, etc., to get things done, I believe. But I'm not the logistics guy. I'm giving out the awards guy to Yuri and Glover. That was a great fight. I mean, come on now. We didn't think that Glover was going to withstand the tenacity, the power, the, you know, versatility, and just the craft that Yuri Prochazka brings to the table with his mixed martial arts. We didn't think that Glover was going to handle that, and you bet your fucking ass he did. Glover is well-rounded everywhere. He's a dog, and he showed time and time again why he's one of the greatest of all time in the light heavyweight division. He's got good boxing, great wrestling, good jiu-jitsu, loves a good clinch. And in that 5th round, Yuri Prochazka, you know, looked like he was on his way to losing to Glover Teixeira, but then out of nowhere pulled out a modified rear naked choke, bulldog choke-esque move, and Yuri won the title. And I truly think that because Yuri and Glover didn't happen at UFC 282, I actually think that it makes this fight even more special. I actually think that that even made it a more unanimous decision for me to choose Yuri versus Glover as the fight of the year because it didn't happen a second time. So that's what I got for you there. The sub of the year, listen, first place we'll get to, but second place is Yuri Prohaska for everything that I just said before. And, you know, I just want to preface this first. A lot of folks sometimes like to take the lesser known fighters, or, you know, like to sometimes remove the crowd and the importance of the event and the situation, etc., and just look for the best submission. To me, that's near impossible. You have to bring the moments along with the maneuvers when you're giving out these awards, okay? I don't care if the guy gets a fucking twister in the first round on a prelims fight. I'm sorry. Submission of the year is Islam Makhachev. The reason that being is the storyline with the entire fight was Islam basically calling out the standard and the quality of the black belt in Charles Oliveira, okay? And that's some fucking old school Gracie fighter shit, okay? When the Gracies used to show up to other gyms in Brazil and say, it's mine versus yours, my team versus yours, mano y mano, let's see who's got the best jiu-jitsu in the city, let's see who's got the best jiu-jitsu in the country, and let's fight it out. And that's basically what Islam was inviting to Charles Oliveira. He wanted to test the standard in his black belt. He believed that his Dagestani wrestling and his combat sambo was far more superior, and that's exactly what he proved. Because leading up to that fight, a lot of folks had Charles Oliveira as one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners, top 5 to ever grace the UFC. And I just frankly don't think that that's true. I think that there's a lot of recency bias there, and I think that there's a lot of new fans. So I'm giving Islam the submission of the year by head and arm choke because he questioned the standard of the black belt in Charles Oliveira. That's an old school move. That's a dog move. We don't see stuff like that anymore. And most importantly, he didn't even fully transition to side control and already had Charles Oliveira tapping from that squeeze. And that just goes to show you how technically sound and how strong Islam Makhachev is. So that's why I have him having the sub of the year. I understand a couple folks wanted me maybe to say the Bear Jew versus Nikita Krylov because he was getting his fucking ass kicked and then busted out that triangle. But I'm sorry, the moment with Islam subbing Oliveira is infinitely bigger than that. So that's my submission of the year. KO of the year, we got Michael fucking Chandler. Why? Because he was losing the first round against Tony Ferguson, who is a legend of the game, had a tough go against Gaethje, and then had to go against Chandler next, which was really rough. But fast forward to now, you can kind of see why that all happened. Tony's not where Tony was once at in his career. But listen, man, Chandler was losing that first round to Tony. Every time he tried to close the distance hard, Tony was there stopping him with elbows, stopping him at bay with unorthodox strikes. And then in that second round, Michael Chandler has a he's got a good arsenal of skills. He's got wrestling, he's got good hooks, he's got some kickboxing, etc. He knows how to put all of his combinations together, let's just say. But we didn't necessarily expect him to emulate the great Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort with that knockout. You know, we did not expect that at all, but that's exactly what happened. Congratulations to Michael Chandler. A beautiful front kick, turned Tony Ferguson into a bored ape, to quote myself from the last time. And that's why I have him with the knockout of the year, because let's just say if we expected Tony to go down in any way, it absolutely wasn't from a front kick. And I think that knockout had a lot of folks coming out of their seats. So that's what I got for you on the KO of the year. And the last awards go to Fight of the Year. We're going to start with the female. Originally, I had Valentina Shevchenko, but I changed my answer at the top of the hour. I'm going with Zhang Weili. Come on now. Come on now. Zhang Weili has had a year and a half, okay? She has looked fantastic in every single fight. Her last fight against Joanna, she looked absolutely beautiful, had that beautiful spinning elbow knockout. Then after that, went on with Carla Esparza, completely took over the Madison Square Garden Arena with the audience, had all of New York City behind her, and then went on the MMA Hour a couple of weeks ago and completely brushed up on her English and is now completely fluent. She speaks better than I do now. So congratulations to Zhang Weili for not only putting on fantastic performances, coming back from losing her title, but also, you know, what a great story and bringing the fans behind her. Remember, you know, we spoke about it before, Rose completely filling out the stadium with cheers and Zhang being the one filled out with booze. And then you fast forwarded and Zhang almost felt like she was from New York City. And then on top of that, just completely fucking accelerates her marketability by learning English. I'm always a huge fan of that because that's what helps resonate with the American market the most. So Zhang Weili, completely well-rounded everywhere. She's got it all. Great personality as well. Absolutely her. And then the fighter of the year goes to none other than Alexander the Great Volkanovski. I mean, come on now. Max Holloway, Chan Sung Jung, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway. The resume is just there. One of the few fighters in the UFC that time and time again is actually showing that he is improving with every single fight. The jab is there. The kickboxing is there, finishing off the combinations with the leg kicks. He's got great takedown defense, and he's got even better resiliency. And you best believe that getting out of that guillotine really showed the passion, the heart, and, he really solidified his status in there by getting out of that guillotine. And fast forward, he'll be fighting Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title in Perth. It's going to be one of the biggest fights of the year. We got the lightweight great versus the featherweight great, the pound-for-pound great, and Alex Volkanovski. He's absolutely my fighter of the year. Unquestionably, he's got a great YouTube channel, Cooking with Volk. He's also got a great breakdown and analysis as well. So congratulations to Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Just a great story in all of the improvements within every single fight. You know, it always seemed like with every Max Holloway fight, there was a lot of folks out there thinking that Max was finally going to get his day, and that absolutely didn't happen. And the Chan Sung Jung TKO was fantastic. Another decision, a dominant decision victory over Max Holloway. And then again, think about all the time and effort that he did for the company on Yas Island before that. I know it's before 2022, but it is what it is. You can't forget about some of these things. Alex Volkanovski is my fighter of the year. Congratulations to him. And that's what I got for you on the MMA Awards. I'm going to write down all of these in the description of the YouTube channel or in the comments section. I'd love for all of you guys to interact with me and give me your answers as well. If you'd like to argue with me on some of them, that's cool too. But more importantly, I would just like to see your awards. So that's what I got for you today. We're 27 episodes deep. It'll be after Christmas when you hear this. I hope you had a great Christmas, a great Hanukkah, a great Kwanzaa. I hope you had a great spiritual outlet with you and yours and your family. AC Radio, we're out, baby.
Big G's, no design on my jacket. Work hard, I'm changing my bracket. Talk tough, we ain't hear that racket. Dots came in, you know how to stack it. Take it wrong, but I'ma need my ends though. I got tigers on my chest like Kenzo. Rail came, yeah, he putting that Benz though. Carrots here, man, you know you stay 10 toes. Big dog, man, you know I ain't worried. Bent up, so I'm talking real slow.